Good morning, Josh here with another over-shoulder video for Chester Day 2 on the 7th of May. Yesterday's dive into, well, a return, I suppose, to recording more videos as the weeks go on, went fairly well. I had a short list of three. The third on my list, Stupido, who I thought was a good each way bet, 7.5 to 1 SP, delivered the goods. As per that video, I thought the pace was interesting. I thought the Loughnane horse and Percy's Lad may go for, potentially stay there. As it turned out, they went too hard and set it up, which was a possibility for a closer. Stupido started well. He sat in fifth or so, travelled around well. It opened up. I mean, he stayed on well, £8 below that decent run in the Britannia, which is always a hot handicap at Royal Ascot last season, and did it fairly snugly come the line. So that was a good start, and I never mind having two or three, especially for kind of interest stakes in those bigger Class 2 handicaps. But we move on to day two, and I'm just going to flick through the first two races and maybe highlight a few things that you may note down or dive into deeper if you wish. As always, I'm using the excellent GG's Gold. There's a link below this video on YouTube to get a free account, which I'd recommend all of you doing. There's plenty of great tools and free tools you get access to each day, so you can dive in. And there's a £1 trial below for a 30 days, I should say, if you wish to kind of dive in across the whole suite of tools and see if they can help you. We move on. So 130 looks a competitive kind of Class 2 5 furlong sprint handicap, the type of race, I suppose, where they can take it in turns. Pace always a good starting point. And yeah, with these excellent kind of color coding, you can generally see where it's best to be. We can see here that leading generally, if you could land on all the 5 furlong races at Chester with a horse who leads and may get an easy lead, you can see how you would do quite well. And that's obviously a good starting point. 10 from 36, 21 places, plus 33 SP. Kind of showing the value of trying to home in on front runners. Now this is a bit trickier. I'm not sure there's going to be a lone front runner here. My lucky pin for kind of interest stakes has actually landed on Cannon's House, 9 to 2, 5 to 1 or so on the machine. If he did get to an each way price, there's only 3 places. I think he's interesting. You've got these wider drawn horses here. The Hugo Palmer horse has gone 4 before, and hopefully from 7 may well do so again. Ruby's Profit, while slow away last time, is usually a trailblazer, and from the low draw you'd thought would be aggressively ridden. 7 Questions can be up there as well, but not necessarily blasted. Roman Dragon can track the pace. I did think if Cannon's House can get out as well as he did last time, he can lead. I'm hoping Joe Mason is sensible and doesn't get into a scrap with Ruby's Profit and or the Palmer horse here, because that could well set it up for something slightly ridden behind them, which Roman Dragon may be one. 7 Questions possibly another on that inside rail, but I suspect he'll be up there and he won't be too far away, which could be the place to be around here today. So yeah, that pace is interesting. There's no kind of lone front runner who's going to get an easy lead, which would be a easier way in, of course, but I would expect Ruby's Profit to go hard and forward, and I would expect Cannon's House not to be too far away, but hopefully settled and not taking each other on. Of course, if Ruby's Profit is slow away as he was last time, Cannon's House could potentially get an easy, well, not an easy lead, but could well hit the front. So we'll see how that pans out. But that's the pace map for you to kind of ponder and absorb. The other kind of way in with sprints, especially over 5 furlongs, is the GG speed ratings. Now, these are commissioned and used Dr. Peter May's speed ratings, I believe. I do need to double check the figures, but I've read them before, as Matt has shared them, but I do need to dive in. But the top rated speed ratings within GGs, especially over 5 furlongs, has generally paid rather handsomely over time. Now, they don't all win, of course, nothing is that straightforward. But as a weigh-in, again, to complement kind of pace maps and everything else, looking at those top rated and even the top 2 rated in such races, again, is a good starting point and gives further kind of evidence and confidence that a horse might run well. The Instant Expert, of course, I've got that on 2 years, but I can do it across the board. I've got it in flat handicaps here. We're in class 2, and yeah, you can see here there's a few that are proven in the class and tick the conditions, including the ground. Of course, this is a useful tool because if the weather changes, you can change those goings maybe from an evening before or on the morning, and that will update the cards as below. There's no downpour due today, I don't believe, but if that was soft or it changed overnight, for example, you can just click those changes in the going and you can see who has performed in such conditions. But it's not going to be soft today. And yeah, we have Cannon's House here, shows up well, got a couple of decent wins. He is proven in the class. It was on the all-weather, but a decent enough contest, and he won that off 86, only £1 higher today. The distance is just fine. He's never run at Chester. That is a question for him, of course. He looks like he's still open to improvement as a 5-year-old. If looking at handicap marks, Ruby's profits back down to the last winning mark, so whatever he does here might be worth noting in terms of one that's well handicapped. 7 questions is £11 below the highest winning. May suggest regressive, but again could be one to note moving forward, who could pop up at some point. Vintage Claret is now £5 below his last winning mark as well. We've got Roman Dragon, who clearly likes it at Chester, and he's won a listed race around here as well. Only won from 18 in class 2 handicaps. That win was in this race last year, so and he's on the same mark, so I can see why he's kind of prominent in the market. So there's other things there you can flick through, of course. Looking at the race card, there have been a few non-runners. We can organise by draw or whatever, however you wish to do it. This is by race card order. I could click on trends again, just so you get an idea. Like I said, Roman Dragon won this last year. Robert Cow's won this before, so his runner on that basis, and Tom Mark Wandro that day might be of interest as well for those of you who wish to take a deeper dive in. A kind of spread of ages from 4 through to 8. A spread of official ratings as well, although plenty in the kind of higher 80s and 90s. Horse rated 85 has won this before. The draw, interesting, you can see here, and there have been a few non-runners, but there has yet to be a winner drawn outside the top 5 in this. So if you wished to use that as a kind of way in, you would obviously be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is this group of 5 horses here. If that historical trends for this race holds up, which you would think it may do, it is a big question, or a bigger question for these lower down, even with some of the non-runners. So that kind of thing's interesting as well. But yeah, generally lower drawn the better, which is no shock over 5 furlongs around here, of course, but it's good to see the historical race record back that up. And the other thing, SP is always interesting, of course. There has been the odd big winner, generally you kind of 7 to 1, 8 to 1 or shorter, but there has been a spread, and again, not necessarily be put off by a bigger price on that basis. What else can we flick through? There's these report angles, which are always interesting, sometimes for today, sometimes to note more generally. Dr. Newland and Jamie Insold have done well with their quick returners to date. Hugo Palmer and Oisin Murphy continue to fly along. I think the market slowly catching up to that, but the actual versus expected is still pretty good. Yeah, there's reasons there to always note when they team up and when Hugo Palmer picks Oisin Murphy, even more so when he may have had other choices and other connections to ride for. Only an 11 plus 11 point SP, but a trainer jockey combo to generally keep on side, which I'll touch on in the next race as well. Hugo Palmer's been doing very well with Billy Loughnane in the last year again, so that's something to keep an eye on. I'll touch on Channon's House in a moment, and again he also does well with Jason Watson. So there's a few Hugo Palmer trainer jockey combos that you can note there, maybe for the rest of the card, rest of the meeting, but generally moving forward for the rest of the flat season, you would say those three jockeys could well be his kind of go-to, and working out those bookings can always be an interesting way in as well moving forwards. What we got here with Vintage Clarets, that's just the jockey in decent form. Jockeys riding in form's always worth noting, and confidence, especially young claimers as well. Ethan's clearly riding very well with confidence, and again, if you like jockeys as a weigh-in or like tracking certain jockeys, he could be one to keep an eye on in the coming weeks while he's in decent form and has that claim. I suspect a few trainers have started to notice that, and he could be in more demand. And what we got here, Michael Wigham, John Egan as well, trainer jockey combo have teamed up well in the last year. He's drawn in 12. That's going to be very hard from today, but again, if you like your trainer jockey combos, especially kind of the lesser lights or those that may offer more value, Michael Wigham and John Egan could be one very much to keep an eye on in the weeks ahead. Generally in handicaps, I suspect, and might be the odd one go in at a nice price. If I just finish off with Cannon's House here, trainer jockey combo, I like this. Michael and David Easterby, Joanna Mason, 3 from 13, 7 places around Chester in the last 5 years. So as a kind of a track trainer jockey combo to follow, and offers a fair bit of value. Cannon's House is a horse. He has first time cheek pieces here. I never mind, or quite like, I suppose, first time headgear, especially with sprinters. This horse knows how to win. He's consistent, knows how to place. 4 from 13, 5 places in handicaps. Pretty good going. He's only 5. These sprinters can keep getting better as they get older and stronger. 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, even beyond that. He had a very good season last year. He won his first 3. I like this. This race has worked out okay, maybe not the deepest Class 2 handicap, but it was still a decent Goodwood Class 2 handicap. Found that downhill and that track maybe a bit speedy, but he kept on well and ran a decent race off today's same marker, Racing Post rating of 89, and then he won at Southall. Decent handicap, decent pot as well. It shows he can handle big fields, he can handle the hustle and bustle. Is clearly quite straightforward, I think, in that sense. He can carry his head a bit high, but clearly doesn't stop him from getting the job done. I suspect he needed his Musselburgh return, and soft ground doesn't look like it's for him either. He only ran 3 days ago. He was a bit keen, but he ran well. Copper Knight, even with his advancing age, is still a decent horse. I like the fact he arrives here fit and in form. He has got the class to compete at this level for me. Rated 87, has a nice weight. I just organise it by race card again. Has a nice weight. I'm not worried about the class. I think the rating is workable. I like the fact that Joe Mason's back on. Billy Garrett, he's been on the last 4 starts. Joe was the last jockey to win on him. She's got a good record on the horse. She rides this place well. And yeah, I think that might make a difference. She may be able to settle him better. If he could just track Ruby's, if starting, if she can start better and just give Cannon's House a lead, that would be great. But like I said a moment ago, did dwell and was slow away at Bath, and if she does that again, Cannons might get an easier time up top. I like the first time cheek pieces, that may help him. I also like the quick return. Given how keen he was last time, that run may well have knocked a bit of the buzz out of him. And as you can see here, you can click down the trainer and get all these different kind of angles. All these are based on the last couple of years. But the Easterbees have done well with their quick returners, returning within 7 days, 8 from 49, 19 places, which is decent enough. And that's always something to keep an eye on as well. And the horse himself has won within a 10-day return, that Thirsk win if I look back, was only 6 days or so on from a winning return at Carlisle. So for me, it shows he can back up and kind of run here fresh, even despite only running 3 days ago. So I thought at the odds, 9 to 2, 5 to 1, he was potentially the most interesting for me in the race. You may disagree with that. I may have said something which gives you some other ideas to dive into and have a look at. We've got that top rated on the speed figures as well. Roman Dragon clearly loves this pace. I don't know if he's just out of form, because at Leicester he arrived fit from Bahrain, but maybe they hadn't done much with him with this race in mind. His usual cheek piece is on. He clearly likes it here, but he's had many goes. The mark's probably workable. Maybe this will set up for him. He's currently the favourite, but slightly bigger price. For me at the glance, and as I've just talked through, I thought Cannon's House might run well. I suppose you might be edging towards an each way price for those safer players out there. And yeah, that's that. So yeah, with any luck, I've said something of interest away in. You may disagree with my thoughts on Cannon's House, but I flicked through a few other stats and other musings which I hope you might note down and may be useful moving forward, especially those trainer jockey combos and a few other bits and pieces. Let's rattle on, but that's just showing you how you can kind of quickly, I suppose, flick through a race card within the excellent Gigi's Gold and try to get an idea of the race setup, of the likely contenders, some other stats foundations, which I always like, the speed ratings and everything else. You could use the top speed as well, of which Cannon's House is nicely up there. Racing Post ratings, he's top as well, so on readjusted ratings. So that's that. Let's move on. I'm just going to touch on the maiden stakes. What am I doing? Who knows? I'm generally a handicap player, but there can be value here. Now, the first thing I want to do is the pace. Again, on the flat, that pace tab, always a great way in. Donegal Rose was right up there. I've watched that Leicester run back, show loads of speed, and I thought ran a decent race, was hampered late, was only going to finish in the places anyway. But it would be very rare and unusual for an unraced 2-year-old, especially around Chester, to be blasted from the front. So I would be shocked if any of the unraced ones kind of darted forward. And it looks like, to me, Donegal Rose may get an easy time of it on the front here, which at 4 to 1 was bigger when I started recording, may have been nibbled into 7 to 2 by the time you get to this. I still think that might be okay for a kind of interest bet, or if you're trackside, or well, you might not be trackside if you're watching this now, of course. But you know, if you like playing in these races, I suspect Donegal's Rose will blast out and either lead or be bang in the right spot. But I suspect Oshin might try and get out there. The other thing which made him interesting for me is the fact that the trainer and jockey won this race last year with Tricky Tell, which indicates to me this may well have been a plan. Philly, I should say, have called Donegal Rose. And yeah, Hugo Palmer loves Chester winners. He obviously trains locally now from Michael Owen's establishment and increasingly targets the track where they've done fairly well. We know the trainer jockey combo from those stats from the first have a very good record. Oshin's in decent form. When is he not? One of the best jockeys around, of course. There's no form hook as such. Ran 12 days ago. One horse has come out and gone close since, but that's generally the case for this race. But showed a lot of speed, and given that pace map, I thought was the most interesting. You can see here, Hugos generally do well on their second start. Solid enough stats on that front. You could argue they could be better, but in the context they won this race last year, and you would think this has been the plan, especially as she was sent off 11 to 1. David Probert was on, not necessarily one of Hugo's go-to jockeys. Everything points to me that this has been the plan, and I expect Donegal Rose to be bang there. Oshin should be able to dictate. She will have learned bundles from that first run, I think, although she looked fairly professional and straightforward, and I think was be exciting on that. Pay-per-views up there as well. I think the draw at the odds would put me off. Did race promptly, but from stall 11, going to be hard work, and is a shorter price than Donegal as I speak. And if if he overcomes that and he's just better than these, fair play to him. You'd expect him to take a step forward, but I just thought the draw at the price is a question. The other one of interest is Katura Lights, who was patiently ridden at Musselburgh, switched wide, ran and stayed on well. Racing Post rating of 80. From that first run, which is very good, and Donegal had 59, so I have actually done a very small reverse forecast at kind of 11, 12 to 1, maybe because I'm an idiot, but just for a bit of interest. We'll need to start better, but I suspect may well do. It was 66 to 1 there. The interesting thing with him is, and worth noting for the future, Adrian Keatley's horses on their second start, they're generally going to be 2-year-olds, the odd 3-year-old of course, but on their second career start last 2 years, 8 from 31, 14 places. That is a decent little micro angle in itself. Look at that profit to SP. Betfair SP profit of 68 if you don't have bookmakers and just like betting at Betfair SP. So if nothing else, if Donegal, Rose and Colt Katura Lights are useless in this race, that is an angle worth noting down for those of you who like stats and everything else. The yard are in form. I may well have picked the wrong one or two. I suppose that pace angle has lent me towards Donegal Rose and the race record. I'd expect a big step forward, but from draw 6 with that run under his belt, I expect Katura Lights, given those yard stats on second start, to take a big step forward. If he can race handier and not hit traffic, I expect him to be running on again. With any luck, Donegal Rose is gone, and Katura Lights can run on into second, with the draw having hampered Hannons and the others maybe not being good enough. Or having the experience required around here. And if that's the case, and if Katura Lights actually stays on past Donegal Rose, there's that reverse forecast angle for fun. I've only paid small money on that for interest, and Donegal Rose for the win at 4s. But yeah, do with that as you please. I'm going to stop there. I've been going on 21 minutes, and I'm trying to keep these to 20 max as best I can, but I'm also obviously trying to say something that you find interesting, informative, both for now, for this race, and moving forwards, and to highlight the excellence of these tools, of course, which really are a great help to any punter out there and thoroughly recommended. But with that said, thanks for watching. Good luck if I've said something which helps you find a winner today or moving forward. Good luck if you disagree with me in my first 2 races and end up on something else. We will see how they get on. Do click a thumbs up and a like if you're watching on YouTube. Post any comments, ask any questions. Happy to answer them. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll be back at some point soon. Cheers, Josh.